Well, welcome to week number 3 of Performance Boost 30. I'm Dr. David DeRose. It's good to have each one of you with us. We are covering material today that we've touched on throughout the first 2 weeks of the program, and we're glad that you're here with us. We're going to be giving opportunity for interaction if you're joining us on a live version of this program. So we encourage you to stay tuned as we open things up on Zoom and through the chat shortly. But first, we want to give you some background, talk about where you've been on the program and where you're headed. And let's do that right now. We are basically presenting this material to cover folks who've gone through the first 2 weeks of the program. If you haven't done that already, don't worry, because we're going to try to bring you up to speed as we go through the program. If you're just jumping on with us, let me mention something before we get into the heart of the program this evening. And that is that we're rolling this program out over the course of the summer of 2023. And because of that, we're doing things a little bit differently than we would normally do. We're actually giving you an opportunity to jump into the program at any time. You can step out for a week or two if you need to. If you've got plans, you're going to be out of the country, you're going to be visiting family somewhere, and you say, I just can't easily access these short videos on a daily basis. So we're spreading the program out over the summer, and that means we're rolling out these regular videos. Although we've done it 3 consecutive weeks, we're going to take a break next week, and our next live video presentation, like I said, if you're watching these live and interacting with us, will be on July 22nd, so 2 weeks from today. And then we're going to go about a full month into August 19th. Will be the next date, and then September 2 will wind things up. So some of you say, but hey, I'm going through this 30 days right now straight. Well, you can do that. I mean, by all means, if you're prepared to do that, go through the 30-day program. But we are going to roll out these live sessions, and we love to have you jump on because your comments, the things that you share during these live sessions, we're incorporating into the presentation. So we're not using any clips of actually, if you don't have to be afraid if you interact. We've decided not to use any of the live clips from individuals asking questions. So there's you don't need to be afraid of that. If you've looked at our last 2 presentations, we cut this 1-hour presentation down into 30 minutes. And then we put it up on our Timeless Healing Insights channel for people to use going forward. So that's basically how we've structured things. So tonight we're going to give you a chance for some live interaction that will be taking place, like I mentioned, shortly. Okay. So with that background, what we're going to do at this point is let you know kind of where we're going. So after about a half an hour of more of a didactic presentation with the slides, then we're going to open things up for you to interact. So that's how we're doing it this evening. By the way, great to have each one of you who's joining us live. We'll be looking at the chat session once we get to that interactive portion of the program. So it's great to have each one of you with us. We're going to do something just because we're making a final production after this live session. So I'm going to reintroduce the program. I know some people may have just jumped on because I think some of the different streams and things were getting coordinated. But we'll do kind of a reintroduction, and then I'll do this didactic portion for about 30 minutes. And then at that point, we're going to open things up for your dialogue. Fair enough? Any questions before we do that? Okay, I see a number of smiling faces. Good, that's encouraging to see. Good, we're glad for each one of you who are with us tonight. So let's go ahead and we'll start more with a formal introduction. We'll just step away for a moment from the live screen as I do that. And that is not all that difficult if I coordinate things properly. And then we'll give you another formal greeting, and we will go from there. So that's what we're going to do here. Okay. Welcome to the 3rd week of Performance Boost 30. I'm Dr. David DeRose. It's good to have each one of you with us. This is a program that is designed to be viewed after going through the first 14 days of the 30-day program. If you haven't gotten that far along, that's okay. Stay by. We're going to try to answer some commonly asked questions, give you some pointers, And in fact, you might say, well, what is this all about? Someone just drugged me into this session. They told me something exciting was happening. We're on a 30-day journey. We're putting out weekly content that is designed to complement these daily videos that go out to individuals who signed up for the Performance Boost 30 program. Tonight, like I said, we're going to talk about where you've been, as well as give you some idea of where we're headed. So with that in mind, I'm going to go right to some of our graphics this evening, and we're going to share with you some things that I think will be of help to you going forward. So where have we been so far? If you've been tracking along with the program, we are on day 14. This video is designed to complement those who've gone that far through the program. And we've been talking about a variety of things, from diet to exercise to sleeping, water treatments, both internally and externally, as well as then seeking spirituality. We're going to touch especially on those topics tonight. Where we're headed the week ahead, days 15 through 21. Is going to cover another host of things. We'll be giving you additional pointers if you're trying to trim down, maybe lose some weight during the Performance Boost 30 program. We're going to talk about the power of deep breathing. That is really something that we definitely want to talk about, because it's something that can really ramp up your blood fluidity, hemorrheology. That is the theme for our program. We're going to be talking about things that can improve your blood fluidity. We call it the Methuselah factor. So we're also going to be talking then about things that can help you with your environment, things in the environment that can be more health giving for you. We'll talk about supplements and nutrition. And we'll also speak about another virtue, the virtue of humility, how that can be important for you. So that's where we're headed. You know, as we've been talking about the program, those of us internally, we had kind of a major question to ask, a major question to answer, if you will. It basically has to do with the educational perspective as we're rolling out weekly programs to support individuals going through something that has daily content. And one of the questions has been, well, what do you do? Do you prepare people for the week ahead? Do you especially focus on things that maybe they already touched on and answer questions? We've tried in our first couple of presentations to strike a balance between those two, both where we're headed and where we've been. But really at this juncture in the program, we're going to try to especially focus on where you've been. And let me tell you a little bit why we're doing that. We've chosen to allow you to go through the daily videos, and as I give you different pointers in these roughly 6 or 7 minute videos, we want to encourage you to continue to do what you've been doing. Set your own goals, decide what you're going to add to your program for the remainder of the 30-day journey. But then as we meet in these sessions, and originally this was rolled out as a live video session, and when we did that, we had opportunity for folks to interact in the video medium via Zoom. But if you're watching this as a pre-recorded presentation, we've encouraged you to do this program with other people. In other words, to be sitting alongside of someone when you're watching this segment. If you're not doing that, we said, well, at a minimum, connect with other people. Say, hey, have you watched this weekly installment? And then compare notes, support one another. So what we're going to be doing in these weekly sessions is especially focused on where you've been, trying to answer questions about maybe things that you found challenging during the previous week, maybe deal with some things that you may have overlooked, maybe give you some additional material that complements some of the things that were in the videos. So some folks may be saying at this point, well, I'd rather that you gave me everything that I needed, put it right in my hands right now so I could be successful next week. Well, we have done that in the Methuselah Factor book. I know a number of you who've engaged with us, you said, hey, we've got a copy of the book. But one of the reasons we're doing the videos is because I've met a lot of people who just tell me they're not readers. So yes, there's a lot more content in the book. If you say, oh, I want to have more material than just what I'm finding in the videos on the front end, well, that is perfectly fine. But we're going to focus in these weekly videos on trying to support where you've been in the program up to this point. So with that in mind, we want to move forward and ask a question that might be on your mind, because as we look at some of where we've been over the last week, days 8 through 14, you might say, well, wait a minute, I see you've got this first bullet point up here, sleep right, day 11. Isn't that what you put in our handout last week? And maybe since I talked about our philosophy, I should explain to you why I did something that you may have felt is a little out of step with what I just explained. The reason we did that is if you notice the challenge on day 11, and we've just projected it right here for you, it's commit to at least 2 sleep hygiene principles in order to help you get enough quality sleep each night. And so we felt, hey, if we're going to challenge you to put sleep hygiene principles into practice, wouldn't it make it easier to have before day 11 those principles in hand? So that's why we included them in last week's handout as well as this week's handout. So if you're using this program in a group setting and you're printing out the handouts for your participants, by the way, that's a great thing to do. You might say, but hey, you had us copy these same 3 pages 2 weeks in a row. Well, if you're at all like me, when I do in-person sessions, not everyone brings their materials from the last week. Maybe you cued them and say, hey, make sure you bring this because you'll need this for the next week. But we included it in both handouts for last week, week number 2 session, as well as week number 3. So let me just take a few minutes, because we did not dwell on this topic at all, speaking about some of these pointers. And it's so important. As a physician over the years, I've seen so many people who have trouble with their sleep. They can't rest. They may get to bed on time and they can't fall asleep. So let me touch on some of these sleep hygiene principles, some of the ones that I have found especially powerful over the years. So what we've done in what is projecting is basically just taken the things in the handout. By the way, these are taken directly out of another book that we've referenced in this series called 30 Days to Natural Blood Pressure Control. And we're very thankful to Compass Health Consulting, the copyright owner of these books, for allowing us free use of the graphics and content in these presentations. So figure 9.5 is what you're seeing here. And here's the thing I want to emphasize, and that is about timing of exercise. So look at this principle. If you're exercising 30 minutes daily and you're getting that exercise outdoors, it can be especially powerful in setting your body clock. 30 minutes of exercise daily is really good for inducing better sleep at night, especially if you have some level of fitness. If you're totally out of shape, you may want to start with 5 or 10 minutes a day. But one caveat, you'll see it in that first bullet point, some individuals, if they do much in the way of more vigorous physical activity later in the day, it will be overly stimulating and they'll have a harder time sleeping. So just kind of keep that in mind. Now let me go to this second point, and I want to tie it in with the exercise, because a great thing to do is to exercise out of doors. If you're having trouble sleeping, falling asleep at night, one of the things that can help you fall asleep at night is getting up early in the morning and getting outside in bright light. Now, bright light does not even have to be, the sun doesn't even have to be above the horizon. So if, it's fully dawn and bright out, the sun hasn't come up, maybe you're living in a part of the country where at this time of year it gets pretty hot once that sun slips over the horizon, you can get the benefit of bright light outdoor activity shortly before the sun comes up. And so if you do that, that helps to set your circadian rhythm, your body clock, so that you fall asleep at night. Now, I often have patients say, hey, Dr. DeRose, no problem falling asleep. It's I wake up after 2 or 3 hours and can't fall back to sleep. Well, this is where you use a different strategy. And by the way, you can do both. But the exercise, the outdoor exercise or outdoor activity or bright light therapy, there's these light boxes and things that some people prefer to use. But getting outdoors shortly before sundown or just right after sundown when it's still quite bright out, That will help you to sleep through the night. So that bright light actually interacts with brain regions that have the timekeeping or circadian properties of our brain, and they can help you get better sleep. So wanted to spend a little bit of time with that because I think it's a very important concept. Some other things that are vital as far as optimal sleep. I see so many people with digestive issues. Seems like a virtual epidemic of what we now call GERD, gastroesophageal reflux disease. We used to just simply call it heartburn. And a lot of individuals suffer with this. If you keep away from late night eating, especially if you can give yourself a good 4 hours before going to bed after eating, this can be especially helpful, not just for avoiding GERD problems, but also as far as blood sugar problems. Now you say, but I don't have diabetes. Well, if blood sugar is rising when you fall asleep, that will blunt the production of natural restorative hormones like growth hormone and melatonin. May be obvious to you, this next bullet point, and that is that caffeine is not your friend when it comes to sleep, but it's surprising. Caffeine exposure can be relatively early in the day. Some people are quite sensitive, and even having caffeinated beverages after lunch can be enough to interfere with their sleep at night. So just some important principles that I think are worth considering. Alcohol and nicotine, also not your friends when it comes to quality sleep. I know alcohol is a surprising one. I've had many patients over the years, they say, but Dr. DeRose, I need the alcohol to help me rest. Alcohol, yes, it's a sedative, but it disrupts normal sleep architecture. Sleep has a structure. And so alcohol, although it may seem to induce sleep, it actually erodes the optimal quality of sleep. So if you're looking for real performance boost, you don't want to use alcohol as a sleep aid. Naps can be something that can help you if you're a poor sleeper. We generally encourage people to get naps earlier in the day. If you can take a nap later in the day and it doesn't interfere with your ability to sleep at night, may not be that big a deal. But many individuals, naps, especially after 3 p.m., can erode their evening sleep quality. And if you can pull it off, a regular schedule for sleep and for meals is optimal as far as your body functioning. Let me make a point about this last one, and that is a sleep routine. Our bodies like to lock into circadian rhythms, daily rhythms. That's why if you go to bed at the same time each day, it can be powerful. That's why if you eat at the same time each day, that can help your digestive health. But here's the other thing. You can do other activities that your body can cue into. For example, one of the things that I do before I eat breakfast is I do some type of physical activity. I really am not hungry in the morning unless I get out and do some physical exercise. And the reason why is my body's just locked in. It's expecting me to exercise before I eat. So same with going to bed. If you have some kind of a routine, if you say, hey, before I go to bed, I take a warm bath, or I take a shower, or I listen to soothing music, or I do some devotional reading. If you have some kind of a routine, your body can lock into that, and then it helps you to unwind and helps you to fall asleep. So these are just powerful strategies that I found can really help people as they're trying to get that quality sleep, at least when they're in bed. Now, let me highlight something else here, and that's refocusing your brain. A lot of times I'll ask people when they come to me and say, Dr. DeRose, I'm just not sleeping well. And I try to get at why they're not sleeping well. Some people are really restless, they're really agitated. They say, I'm dead tired, but my muscles are all tense. I feel, all jittery. Well, sometimes those people just haven't gotten enough activity, and they need to get some light activity, even though it's late in the day. Again, doing too much activity may stimulate them, but they may need more activity before they can go to sleep. Other people say, no, I know I'm tired, I'm fatigued, but my mind is just racing. I'm thinking about all the things I need to do. Well, in the old days, we used to say, get a sleep tape. Now I say, get a sleep tape, and people are thinking, what, duct tape? Oh, what is that? A sleep MP3, a sleep audio recording. Listen to something that can focus your mind on things that are not stressful. Okay, find something. It can be something devotional. It can be a book that you're familiar with already. Again, the principle is it's something that's engaging, but not stimulating. So don't listen to the latest exciting, whatever is exciting to you. It could be a physics lecture if you're a physicist, okay? So just keep that all in mind. Okay, well, those are some important things about sleep hygiene. There's some other things in the handout, but I think those are some of the most powerful things. And we'll mention one last one, and that is this aspect. A lot of people say, well, I get really frustrated. I'm laying in bed and I can't sleep, and I just get more and more frustrated. Don't let that happen. The rule of thumb that a lot of us like to use is 20 minutes. If you're laying in bed for about 20 minutes and you can't sleep, then get up and do something. If you're in a safe environment, if you're in your own room and you can get up at your bedside, not disturb anyone else in the room, maybe you could do some light walking in place, some stretching, do something of moderate or mild activity. That can be very helpful. And then kind of refocus. If you can avoid light emitting screens, that's better, because those screens, as you may have noticed in one of the other bullet points, can be arousing as far as the brain. So if you could do something, but do it safely. If you're visiting someone else, don't start wandering around in the dark and injure yourself, okay? Well, let's now give you some additional insights into other daily challenges. A number of these are particularly challenging for folks, so I did want to take a little bit of time with some of the things earlier in the week. And like I said, if you're following my recommendations and you're engaging with someone on that journey, this 30-day journey that we're on, wonderful. You can talk about things that you've learned, some things that you had problems with, and we'll give time, if you're watching this in a live setting when we originally filmed it, to bring up those things when we open things up for dialogue a little bit later. But let's talk about a few things from my vantage point that a lot of folks have challenges with. Day 8 was to seek low sodium options. And a lot of people, when we introduce this principle of cutting down on salt, they'll say, well, how much should I be cutting down to? I mean, should I be measuring everything? We try to make this as simple as possible. And I've shared some of the rationale with you in the video, but just let me kind of remind you, because it's not really intuitive to folks. They say, well, I know salt is related to blood pressure for some people. Someone else may say, hey, I realize that salt causes me to retain more fluid. All those things are true for some individuals. But higher salt intake in the research actually worsens our blood fluidity. Remember, that's the theme for this Performance Boost 30. How can we improve our Methuselah factor? How can we improve our hemorrheology, our blood fluidity? And so because of that, we just want to pause right now and say, this is really important stuff. So you might say, hey, but my blood pressure's low and I don't think it's an issue. If you can get by with less salt, it's generally beneficial. And we've put that in the handout for you that goes along with this presentation. So lower salt eating, better, and the body can adjust to it. That's the beautiful thing. Now, the one caveat, sometimes people will get all concerned about their salt and start measuring their daily salt intake. And we like to use just a very simple rule of thumb to make this easy. We're trying to make the program both powerful and easy to implement. So the strategy that we rolled out is simply looking at only 2 items on the food label when it comes to sodium. Okay, we're going to introduce some other things about label reading later in this 30-day journey. But at this point, all we want you to do is look at 2 things on labels. And it's illustrated right here. What I want you to do is to look, any food you're thinking of, look at the total calories per serving, and we want you to compare it to the milligrams of sodium per serving. So here in this example, you can see it's 100 calories per serving, and there's 150 milligrams. Now, in what we're putting out in Performance Boost 30, we would say if you're going to follow that guideline, if you're going to embrace this goal for day number 8, then you're going to say to this food item, no, because there's more sodium per serving than there is calories. Do you see how that works? Okay, so we're going to give you some practical examples here, a quiz right now. If you're joining us live, you don't have to shout out the answers. If you're watching this, of course, as a video with other people in the room, you may not want to do that either. But let everyone kind of come to their own conclusion. Yeah. So here you go. Here's another nutrition facts label. So remember, what are you going to look at as far as the two items to decide whether this is a quote approved item on the Performance Boost 30 program? Just the two things are calories and milligrams of sodium. So take a look at this nutrition facts label and scope it out. Do you see the number of calories? Do you see the sodium? And if you read this label correctly, there's twice as much sodium as calories. This would be a relatively high sodium food, and you would not eat it. Here's another example for you. Okay, take a look here. Again, you're comparing just two things to decide whether this is something that, if you want to follow our guideline, remember, we're giving you guidelines, but we're encouraging you to kind of own these things. And if you might say, but Dr. DeRose, I figured it out. I'm eating 8,000 milligrams of sodium a day. Just to cut down to 4,000 would be an accomplishment. I think if I'm just eating things that are 2-to-1 sodium per calories, I'll be doing better. Well, that's probably true if you're really eating 8,000 milligrams a day. But if you're following our guideline, here's a nutrition facts label. Even if you followed your own less stringent guideline, 80 calories, only 55 milligrams of sodium. And so this would be something that you would say, hey, great. Now, a lot of people are saying, but wait a minute, you know, I got bananas today. I went and I got some romaine lettuce. I've got tomatoes. Produce, basically, for all intents and purposes, you can be assured that that's going to be low in sodium. So someone's going to say, but I eat kelp too, and I look, well, for all intents and purposes, we basically say, if you're getting it in the produce aisle, you can use it in the Performance Boost 30 program when it comes to the sodium content. Now, just a few cautions. If you didn't pick these up during the week, and I really want to mention these because we do have patients, and you may be tuning in, maybe you're on diuretic medications, maybe you're on hydrochlorothiazide or furosemide, Lasix. And these medications are basically causing you to get rid of sodium. The reality is, whether your doctor explained it this way to you or not, your need for those medications is partially determined by how much sodium you're eating. So if you make a dramatic change in your sodium intake and you're on some of these diuretics, this could upset the balance. So what we encourage you to do, again, if you're really getting serious about making dramatic changes in sodium, that you consult with your provider, especially if you're on a diuretic medication. Now, here's probably the very best news that I can give you, because a lot of folks say, hey, I tried this before. I tried to decrease the sodium. Everything tasted terrible. This is really critical. It's probably the single most important slide that I've ever used when it comes to sodium intake. This is, again, provided from the book 30 Days to Natural Blood Pressure Control. And what this slide is getting at is it's a study that was done in the 80s, a classic study. And basically what it illustrates is it takes about, you got to get to about that 13-week mark. If you see it there on that slide, it's not until you get to about the 13-week mark, that's 3 months, before your sodium preferences fully change so that you enjoy those lower sodium foods as much as you like the higher sodium ones. So yes, there's changes happening at 1 and 2 and 3 weeks, but you're not going to like the food as much at 3 weeks if you made a significant decrease in sodium as you did before you made the change. But stick with it, and you'll begin to develop new enjoyments like we talked about earlier in this program. Well, I want to move on from there and talk a little bit more about day 9. Day 9, I just really love, because over the years, so many people have said to me, but Dr. DeRose, I can't exercise. You know, I've had patients that are in wheelchairs and people that can't do a lot of activities. Well, most people can do this. I mean, yes, I've dealt with people who were quadriplegic and things, and they didn't have much in the way of grip strength. But the thing is, get a grip. This is a powerful presentation. We weren't just talking about grip strength exercise. We were speaking about resistance exercises. But I wanted to put in your handout some more practical pointers as far as the power of resistance exercise. And I was just blown away years ago in doing research on high blood pressure to learn that something as simple as isometric hand grip exercise. That's where you're holding a grip device. In the research, individuals would hold it for sets of 2 minutes at about 30% of their maximal contraction. And doing this on a regular basis for about 6 weeks, 3 times a week, they dropped their systolic blood pressures on the average of 13 points and their diastolic pressures on the average of 6 points. So very powerful. We put into your handout just how to do the exercise if it kind of went by quickly in the video. So you've got that all in the handout. If you said, hey, boy, that went by real quick, you say, hey, but I took notes. Why didn't I have this in advance? Well, again, we're trying to strike this balance between having you set your own goals and have your resources and what to put in your hands in advance. But this is something we wanted to make sure you had. And we give you other guidelines in the handout about setting just up a resistance exercise program in general. Well, let me move on to day 10, because some things there I really wanted to highlight for you. And we're getting kind of the tail end of tonight's didactic portion. And then we're going to move into that interactive portion of the session. But day 10 was focus on fats. And you can see the challenge, I've projected it here again. Try to avoid saturated fat, which is generally found in animal products, and preferentially eat foods that naturally contain omega-3 and other polyunsaturated fats that are generally found in plant products. We tried to give you some solid information on this. We've put some more information in your handout, and it just reminds you that those saturated fats worsen blood fluidity. They worsen insulin resistance. They worsen inflammation in the body. So if you're dealing with joint problems, I actually had a patient that was dealing with me this week, and we were talking about natural things they could do to decrease inflammation. And one of the things I shared with them is get rid of those animal products with their saturated fat. Because it's not just the saturated fat, there's other properties in those animal products that are pro-inflammatory, other products that are pro-inflammatory, but powerful just to move away from those things and eat more of the things that are rich in these plant fats like omega-3 fats. Now, I know when I call omega-3 fats plant fats, it often raises eyebrows because people say, hey, but that's fish fat, isn't it? Well, if you picked up on this important information, yeah, we told you about a lot of the benefits of these healthier fats. We put them in your handout. But probably the single most important point I can emphasize is that there are many plant sources, rich plant sources of these omega-3 fats. You can see here projected flaxseed oil, chia seeds, black walnuts, ground flax, all very rich sources of omega-3 fats. And actually, many fish have nowhere near that much omega-3 fat. Yes, there's some of these cold water fish that are good sources of omega-3 fat. But what I try to tell people is there's not enough fish in the world for everyone to get their omega-3 fats and not totally decimate all of the fish on the planet. So really, if we're going to get our omega-3 fats as a human population, we need to be getting them largely from plant sources. So we've included that material for you. So hopefully those pointers are helpful for you. You say, Dr. DeRose, is there anything else I can do that's anti-inflammatory? Two of our favorites, my wife, who's also a physician, and myself, are turmeric. And you can see a typical dosage of that is 500 milligrams 3 times a day. And then boswellia, or the biblical frankincense. That's what boswellia is, boswellia extract, between 200 and 600 milligrams twice a day. So if all you can remember is 500 milligrams, good number for both of those supplements, 3 times a day for the turmeric and twice a day for the boswellia. A lot of folks say, but this is the lifestyle program. Where are the recipes? We tried to point you to some recipes last week. We highlighted things that the Bean Institute puts out. And great resource for recipes also is the Physicians Committee for Responsible Medicine. They have a whole section on plant-based eating. Check it out. So we've got the website listed there on the screen for you right now, as well as in your handout. So if you're looking for more plant-based recipes. Last few things I want to remind you of before we open things up for questions. That will be done in this session right now in a live format. But if you're watching in another venue and you're viewing this with other people, they'll step away from the video and allow you to interact, share your journey, questions, problems, successes. But just some reminders. If you're following this program and you're on prescription medications, hopefully you've already let your medical practitioners know that you're making changes. Hope you're tracking things that are giving you an idea of your progress, especially important if you have medical conditions like diabetes or high blood pressure, that you're monitoring those values. Want to encourage you to continue to watch the daily videos. And yes, if you want, you can complement the content that we're putting out in video with the more extensive materials we have in some of our published resources. Last thing, I can't emphasize it enough, the importance of social connection. I was struck by this week on 2 different days. I think it may have come from the same number. Maybe it's just a scam that's making the rounds. Here's the message I got. It's surprising when usually they say, hey, you know, Helen or Bobby, like they supposedly know me. But this one said, stranger, I hope I'm not bothering you. Today is my birthday. It's a happy event, but I feel lost because I'm alone. Maybe you got something like that. What do they try to appeal to? So many people are lonely. We need to be connected. That's what we're going to do right now. I encourage you, if you've been watching on video, to step away, get on the phone and call someone if you're not watching this video in a live venue. Hopefully someone's going through the program with you. If they're not, invite them, engage with them, tell them about the program. That's the least you could do after watching this video. If you're in a setting, now's the time to interact together. We'll be doing that momentarily here live. Well, on that note, we're going to close this formal portion of the week number 3 video for Performance Boost 30. I'm excited about every one of you who've been on this journey so far. We're roughly halfway through. Continue on, and you will continue to see some exciting things as we learn together. I'm Dr. David DeRose. Okay, well, that was the didactic portion for tonight. And we're going to go, for the benefit of those of you that are live, to you at this point. I'm going to stop sharing that screen, and we will allow you to share what's been happening. So I'm actually all ears right now. I'm wondering if some of you have had some challenges or successes over the last week. We're monitoring the chat. So if you have any comments, you're welcome to put it through there, or you're welcome just to share. And like I said, you don't have to worry. We're not going to use your video footage. Bonnie, do you have something you want to share with us?
Yeah, so the measure thing, last time with the fast date, I measured weight. So this time I'm measuring weight and blood pressure. As a younger woman, it was always 110/70. Pretty much didn't budge too much from there. However, when I put on my husband's blood pressure cuff, and I have to say he's a much bigger guy than I am, I got pretty unstable readings. 120/62 was one of them that I got, but then I got 148/74 and and these were like right in a row. It wasn't like I was up running around in between. It was just sitting on the edge of the bed taking the blood pressure. Is that because the cuff doesn't fit well, or is that possible? How do you figure that one out?
Typically, if the cuff is too small, it will actually give you a lower reading. Now, if it's just kind of jostling around, that could be a problem. Typically, if you check multiple readings, they get less accurate. If you just keep the cuff on and keep pumping it up. At the same time, though, if you just kind of rushed to take your blood pressure, or you're kind of been pretty active, your blood pressure may be higher initially too, and then sitting for a while will let the blood pressure come down. So as far as blood pressure, just several pointers. This is what we recommend. We recommend that you be sitting in a chair that has your back supported and that your arm is supported, and that the blood pressure cuff is at heart level. Okay, so those are some general principles. We recommend that you be sitting in one place for about 5 minutes, and that your feet be on the floor. You have not been exercising, not been using caffeine or smoking or things like that. So so those are basically the things that we recommend. There's other pointers too, but those are some of the main ones. And if you're just finding, that you're getting erratic readings, I would actually bring the cuff in with you if your husband allows you to, since it's his. But if he'll allow you to bring it to your next medical visit, or some other place where they can check to see how accurate the cuff is, because they can go bad over time.
Okay, this was actually right after rising in the
Mhm.
morning. That's when I weigh myself. So I thought, well, I'll take the blood pressure then. Is that a good time to take blood pressure?
It's always a good time to check blood pressure, because we notice different patterns in different people. So some people will have higher blood pressure readings first thing in the morning. Others will have higher blood pressure readings later in the day. So yeah, so the challenge with blood pressure is, if someone's monitoring their blood pressure, I'll encourage them to check it 3 times throughout the day. Kind of check it early in the morning, check it midday, check it in the evening, see if there's a pattern. So your stress hormones actually rise early in the day to get you ready for activity. But then if you're in a very stressful environment, they may even be higher at the end of the day. So just depends on the person. People are taking medications. Sometimes the blood levels are peaking at different times of the drugs. So yeah, so all of those things are considerations. So if you're being consistently checking it in the morning and it's running pretty high, then it may be something that you need to keep an eye on a little bit more consistently. What we do find is that blood pressure tends to go up over time, and a lot of people believe it has to do with our arteries getting stiffer. If your arteries are stiffer, your heart has to generate more pressure to get that blood circulating, and thus the pressure goes up. It's kind of a simple way of explaining it, at least. Probably a bit more complicated than that, actually.
And last question, what is a normal blood pressure for a female at 66 years of age?
Yeah, we talk a lot about blood pressure in a number of our presentations, and to give you a short answer, if a person is not on medication, the lower their blood pressure, generally the better. If you're healthy and you're not on medication, yeah. So basically, what's so important about that construct is, if you look at data on free living people who are not being medicated for blood pressure, the risk of cardiovascular events begins to increase around a systolic blood pressure, perhaps as low as 110 or 115. Now, every guideline today pretty much says, hey, below 120, gives you a thumbs up. But probably optimally, if your blood pressure was 110, it's probably better than if it's 120. And there's actually data that supports that. Now, once you go on blood pressure medications, that equation kind of changes a bit. And then you really got to work with your doctor to kind of titrate things, because sometimes we might want to run the blood pressure lower if a person's got heart failure or kidney problems. But some of the data indicates if you get your blood pressure even down to 120 on medication, as opposed to, let's say, 130, you may be increasing your risk of cardiovascular events. So again, it just depends on the population, the individual. So there is, once you get into that 120 to 130 range, a little bit grayer, even up to 140, but over 140, all the guidelines forever, that's definitely too high. And we like to see it, at least below 140 and definitely below 90 for the diastolic. Okay, what about other questions or other insights from week 2? Okay, Chris?
Yes. This week was particularly hard because of my left eye, I got floaters. And I had to go to the doctor, and the floaters were at the top of my eye, the bottom of my eye, and the left side. So I am wondering, I asked the doctor who looked at my eye, who had no idea, can floaters be related to your blood fluidity level? Oh, look at us, we both have our water. Cheers, I have a mason jar.
Well, it's a very interesting question. You know, it has to do with vision and hemorrheology.
Mhm.
And we know that there's very good data that suggests that if you improve your blood fluidity, if you get serious about the Methuselah factor, that's what this Performance Boost 30 program is all about, if you've been tracking along. The three of the leading causes of blindness, your risk is decreased by improving your hemorrheology. So one is diabetes. There's good evidence that improving blood fluidity lowers your risk of diabetic complications. Second thing, macular degeneration. You lower your risk of macular degeneration by improving blood fluidity. And the third thing is glaucoma. You lower your risk of glaucoma by improving your hemorrheology. When it comes to other causes of vision loss, when it comes to cataracts, when it comes to, floaters, we don't usually, it usually doesn't get categorized as a cause of vision loss, but it definitely can affect vision. And I can't tell you that I've actually seen data linking hemorrheology to that, but because you've asked the question, and my wife is also viewing this presentation, between the two of us, we will try to take each other to task and see if there's any data out there. I continue to be surprised because people are always asking me, well, Dr. Durrell, they'll ask me something that I haven't seen before about hemorrheology, and I'm surprised because so many things are related to it. And I wouldn't be surprised if it is, but I don't know that it is. So, but I do know if you're concerned about your vision, you should be on this Performance Boost 30 program or doing something like it to try to improve your blood fluidity. So great question. We'll see if we can come up with a better answer for you going forward, okay?
Thank you. I do have one other question, and it's about the frankincense. I have frankincense oil that I put in a carrier oil, and I put it on the soles of my feet. Do you see that as beneficial, or do you prefer the pill? I've never seen it in pill. So could you also give me the dosage of the frankincense oil again?
Yeah, so the pill, the Boswellia extract, like I said, remember the 500 milligram. That's an easy one to recall. And if you want to use Boswellia in a pill form, then what you would do is you would basically, just take that twice a day. It comes as a powder. It's not an oil. And so basically with the oil on the skin, a lot of things, we do absorb transdermally. So that means through the skin. I haven't seen studies on Boswellia, but they may have been done. So, but I do know studies have been done with the oral powder, the Boswellia extract. Okay.
And I just want to quickly say that I thought the presentation on Get a Grip was absolutely mind-blowing to me. And I learned so much because my husband has polio, and that's one of the things he can use as a hand grip. And he was doing it to keep the strength that he has. And we were both blown away that it can help blood pressure.
Yeah,
so
I was,
yeah.
I was amazed by it too. Yeah, so it's just really amazing to think that something that seems that simple could have such a profound effect. And it wasn't just a single study. So they pooled, multiple studies to come up with that figure.
Well, thank you. I'm so grateful for this program. You can't even imagine.
Well,
we're just so seeing people. I feel like you're my extended family.
Well, good. It's great to have folks that are going through it in real time. And the thing is, what we're doing is there's really a huge interest in this. I actually had a university reach out to me just this week. And I had talked with them earlier. I told them about some of the things we're doing, and actually, this is the third university that's expressed interest. None of them have actually done any research with us yet, but we're hoping that that we'll have one of these places say, okay, we want to put some energy into kind of helping. We get all these great stories of people having great results, but one of the best things you can do is continue to share it with people. And the nice thing, I'll be honest with you, this summer program is a bit out of my comfort zone because both I knew my schedule and a lot of people's summer schedules. We couldn't do this every single week. So if you've been taking notes, what I mentioned at the beginning of the program, the next episode of this, quote, week number 4, we're going to delay it a week. So the next live session we'll have will be July 22nd. And then we won't have another one for about a month. So that'll be, we're going to put that off till August 19th. Sonia's here with me. Is that right, Sonia? Is August 19th a Saturday night? Okay, so she's, one of you can help confirm that. Have I got the dates right? August 19th?
Yeah, and September 2nd, you said?
Yeah, and September 2nd. And September 2nd is Labor Day weekend. So some of you may be gone, but the point is simply we're spreading it out. And the interesting thing about that, why I'm sharing it with you right now, that I find especially interesting is you're able to invite someone to join the program right now, and they'll still be able to join and go through 30 days before we finish. So it's not like, oh, well, we're 14 days into it. I mean, why jump on now? And we've got a number of community groups already that are talking about doing something with this program in the fall. So not long ago, there was a church group that was talking with me and said, we want to do something in September for our community. So we'll have this all, rolled out by, people could start at the beginning of September, because even though that last episode will be filmed on the 2nd. Yeah. Even though it'll be filmed on the 2nd, it'll, that doesn't come up till 6 weeks into the program. So the weekly modules, there's 6 of them. If you went through the earlier program, we just did 4. So we're doing one really at the beginning, and then that's, that was the launch that we did a couple of weeks ago. Then last week, number 2. So we'll do 3 more. So this is number 3. We'll do 3 more on the 22nd of July, the 19th of August, and then the 2nd of September.
For some reason, for last week, I missed the printouts. I printed them out for the first week. What day were the printouts available?
They're supposed to be available on Friday. So when you get an invite, the invitations typically go out on Friday, usually afternoon. So if you go back and look in your email, you can likely find that link. But if you haven't been on the member portal, that's the other place. I haven't been on the member portal today.
Okay.
But do all of you know how to navigate to that? Have you been on the member portal?
I have not.
Is it worth, maybe I'll show you that. Let me just see if I can share my screen with you and show you this. So we want you to go to the member portal. Probably the best way to do that is here. Okay, so let me see if I can share this with you. Okay, so this is what we want to share, and I'm going to just kind of walk you through it. So what you've got here is, just the browser opened up, and what you're going to want to do is go to Timeless Healing Insights. So I'm just going to go to the main web page and show you how to do it that way. So if you've not been on this main web page, if you go to the Timeless Healing Insights web page, you'll see all of our programs there. So you'll see the Performance Boost 30. So on the Timeless Healing Insights webpage, so when you log into timelesshealinginsights.org, as you scroll down, you'll first see Performance Boost 30, which is this program.
Mhm.
But if you continue to scroll down, you'll see our weight loss program, Fast 8. That's
Mhm.
not an automated program, but it was an 8-week program that walked you through principles of weight loss. There's our older program, 30 Days to Better Health. It was especially designed for diabetes and high blood pressure. Then we have a weekly TV show. Some of you may have engaged with that, the 30-minute TV program. We have a weekly radio show that is there, and then we have a daily devotional. So those are the things we have there. So as far as what we're talking about tonight, if you log into timelesshealinginsights.org, then scroll down to Performance Boost 30. Now you'll see an option there. It'll say sign up today. So if you click on that, now, have I not registered on this device? If you've registered on this device, oh yeah, you see, when you scroll down, it says already registered. Do you see that? Right down here.
Yeah. Mhm. Mhm.
So if you click in, log in to access your account. So I just clicked on that and it recognizes me. It says you've already started Performance Boost. It recognizes my email address. And I'm going to just click in to log in there. I can, okay, and then it says welcome back. It tells me that I'm this mysterious DJ who you were wondering. Okay, so DJ is on day 14. So when you log in, you see to the member portal, it welcomes you back and then it identifies where you're at in the program. So do you see that how there's an enlarged circle there for day 14?
Yeah.
And then in smaller circles, you'll see week 3, week 4. So as you go through, it's charting your progress. If you continue to scroll down in the member portal,
Mhm.
you'll see a little bio about the presenter
Mhm.
and some of this general material you've seen. But then it has the introductory material first,
Mhm.
overview,
Oh, the
introduction.
handouts. Thank you.
Yeah, but that has the first handout.
Okay.
So then when you go down, you keep scrolling down, you'll see our first
Mhm.
30-minute program. What we've done is we took what we did as an hour live program, and all these have been made into 30-minute programs. So that's weekly episode 1.
Mhm.
And then we have all the daily videos. These are released on a daily basis to you. So that since DJ is on day 14, he can access all of these up to day 14. And then when you get beyond that, they're not released yet
Mhm.
because he hasn't gotten to that far in the program. But if you keep scrolling down, you'll see how you can connect with the rest of the program.
Mhm.
And you will also see that for some reason, the member portal does not appear to be up to date with the other handouts. Let's try this. Let's try the handout link here. Yeah, so that is just the week 1 handout. So I'll check with the IT team
Okay.
beginning of the week. So you're supposed to have a link on here to the to week 2 launch is supposed to be accessible on here.
Mhm.
And I think the way they're going to lay it out is just go up through day 7, and then they'll have the week 2
Mhm.
program that you can access and the handout. So
Okay.
that's how it'll be laid out. So like I said, we're in the process of rolling it out. So you got me to check this out with you, and we learned together that it
Mhm.
does not have the full functionality that we're planning to have by September. Stacy?
Real quick, in my email, the handout, it has an option where you can click on the handout there.
Yeah. So so in the weekly email, when it invites you to this program, right, Stacy?
Yeah, like for tonight, yes.
Right. Yeah, that had the link for the handout for tonight.
Okay, so I'll
And
try.
last week's had the link for last week's handout.
Yeah, for some reason I did last week's fine and this week it didn't happen. And
Okay.
I actually copied them and I'm keeping them in my file folder for future reference.
Yes.
Good. So you'll be all set if you do something in your community too.
Thank you, Stacy. I appreciate it.
Oh,
Yeah,
no problem.
very kind.
Okay.
Do I have
Any-
time to ask a question or two?
Go
If
for
not,
it. Go
that's
for
okay.
it. If folks have to leave, that's okay. Because it's been a little bit more challenging getting everything coordinated because we're doing this in real time. So we appreciate you being patient as we're rolling out a new program. So yeah, we can take a little bit of extra time tonight if you're available. If you need to slip away, don't feel constrained. But go ahead, Stacy.
Well, okay, well, I'm on blood pressure medicine. I won't go into all the details, but I feel like I don't know if I really have an accurate picture because my blood pressure is low, like all the time. And I think it's because, well, I'm eating, again, I'm following a lot of these principles. And so my blood pressure wasn't skyrocketing beforehand. I had a heart attack. I'm on blood pressure medicine. And so how do I know if it's really okay? Does that make
So-
sense? I mean,
Yeah. So what blood pressure medication are you on?
I knew
You
you were
know?
gonna ask me.
Okay, you don't, let
Plavix?
me, what? No,
Plavix?
let me, yeah, let
Okay.
me do this. Let me do
I don't
this.
remember.
Yeah.
Sorry.
So here's the thing. It's a little bit of a challenging question because a lot of times we're on medications, not just for blood pressure. We might be on a medicines, you look it up, you say it's a blood pressure medicine, or you ask the doctor, the nurse, they say, oh, that's for your blood pressure, but it's kind of just shorthand. For example, people who've had a heart attack are often on beta blockers. They're drugs that end in lol, like atenolol or metoprolol or
Yeah.
pindolol. Yeah. And those medications may be prescribed not just for blood pressure, but also for second heart attack prevention.
Mhm.
And or sometimes a person with a heart attack, they have a little bit of decreased ejection fraction. Their heart may not be quite as strong as it used to be, and they're on some medicines that may have an effect on their blood pressure, but they're also being prescribed, for other reasons. So it just becomes a little tricky. So what I tell folks is, if you think there's a medication or a series of medications that you're on for blood pressure, and you're running consistently below 120/70, then at least it's worth asking the doctor, saying, my blood pressure used to be higher, especially if it was, but I've been improving my lifestyle and my pressure's running, 100/60, especially if you're having symptoms, if you're getting lightheaded or you ever get wobbly, or nobody really wants their patient to, pass out because of low blood pressure, and that can happen. So, let the prescribing physician know if they say, really, I mean, we didn't know you're getting lightheaded, or, you don't need to be on this much of that medication. So sometimes they can titrate downward on things, but with the beta blockers, you definitely can't stop them abruptly. Those would be dangerous to stop abruptly. Okay. Any other questions this evening?
Yeah, but too many.
Too many? You want to sneak one more in?
Well, it's the exercise. I'm really trying, and I've been exercising, reading the Methuselah Factor on my exercise bike.
Oh, wow.
But it's been raining so much, I feel like I'm gonna build a boat. But so walking where I don't have sidewalks and stuff, but I was walking, but I have plantar fasciitis and it's really bad. So I'm exercising on my exercise bike. I'm trying to walk a little bit here and there, but I really don't know what else to do. So
have you started to do the grip strength?
Yeah, I'm gonna try to do that too. So
okay. Yeah, so again, I mean, exercise is something that's very individualized. In water exercise is also, great for people who have, different musculoskeletal stuff, if there's an option, for a pool or something like that. And the resistance exercises that we mentioned, many times there's things you could do on a machine or with weights, either with the upper body or with the lower body. And the rule of thumb that we use, if you have musculoskeletal issues, if it's not worse the next day, it's usually an indicator that you didn't overdo it. And we say, that's why to do things gradually. Don't say, well, I'm going to try this for a half an hour and see if I feel worse tomorrow. No, well, that's probably not the thing to do. I mean, do it for 5 minutes. And if you're not worse the next day, maybe in a few days, you could try it for 10 minutes. So, and then with the plantar fasciitis, I don't know if I actually, it's a common problem. So we talk with a lot of people about this. Are you using any kind of a night brace with the plantar fasciitis?
Yeah, my foot was lonely because my left foot had it first, and now my right foot has it. And so I know what to do. I'm drawing, and I even did the hydrotherapy sort of kind of thing,
Okay.
but it didn't really help. I stretch it. I wear actually a fake off-brand Converse shoe at night. That works better than any of those things you can buy at the store.
Oh, okay. Well,
But it still hurts.
yeah. So let me tell you, if any of the others have plantar fasciitis. So one of the things that happens. So if this is your foot, what? Okay. Hard to illustrate with your hand. So your foot is normally in this position. As you go to sleep, your foot tends to kind of straighten out a little bit more. And we call that it goes into some plantar flexion. And then when you get up to stand on, then you're pulling that out, and it tends to tear those fibers, those fibers in the plantar fascia. That's the theory behind this. So if you can sleep with the foot more in dorsiflexion, so something that puts the foot more in a position like that, and wearing a shoe, yeah, it actually can do that theoretically. If it's like a high top shoe or something, it might be having that effect. But we have found people that one of the things that can help them is wearing one of those braces that we say dorsiflex the foot. And there's all kinds of different ones. I mean, some are pretty junky, and others are really pretty good. So that is definitely, if the shoe's doing that, there may not be any additional benefit, but just kind of look at the position of your foot. If your foot is kind of coming down, stretching down like this, which normally happens at night, and not being more up, it'll be uncomfortable. When you're using these braces, we generally have you increase them a little bit each night over a period of weeks until it's in a lot more dorsiflexion than you could tolerate initially. So just another thing to explore. It sounds like you may have already done that. Well, we're going to look forward to getting back together in 2 weeks.
Yes.
So you guys are my core team, whether you're here watching on YouTube or whether you're watching on video. And let me just make sure. I thought we had chat being monitored, but I did see there was one other question that we missed here. Someone asked about the coconut oil, and coconut oil. Let's put it this way. It's better than some of the plant saturated fat, better than some of the animal saturated fats for sure. So if someone said, I'll give you a choice of coconut oil or lard, I would take the coconut oil any day. But we find a lot of people are very sensitive to coconut and to coconut oil, and it will tend to raise their cholesterol and other things. So it's something you got to be very careful with. So just, watch out for that. Okay. Other people, they don't have any problems. They do fine. I know not all of you are able to join us going forward. Some of you blocked off just 30 days. You say, but hey, I thought it was 30 days. But feel free to catch the videos that we release. And I'd really encourage you to solidify the program. After you go through a 30-day program, one of the things we recommend, and I know it's kind of spilling the beans a little bit, but we actually do recommend that you plan to do another 30-day program in the future at some point and invite other people to go through it with you. So you're kind of helping us work through, kind of the beta test of this new rollout of the Performance Boost 30. But it'll be, like I said, fully packaged by September. And, think and pray about maybe there's someone that it could just be one person. You're going to watch it in your home together, or say, hey, let's go through this and September or October together, or maybe you'll do it in a community setting or faith community, whatever. Well, on that note, we want to wind up tonight. I want to close with a word of prayer. Thank you each for joining us, and thank you for being on the journey together. Let's pray. Father in heaven, thank you so much for really just the privilege we have of learning from each other and learning from you. Thank you for each one who's been on the journey this time in real time. We've got several hundred people who've signed up, not many interacting live, but we're grateful for each one who is on the program, whether they're interacting, watching these segments after the fact and communicating with us. But we just pray that you continue to bless each one, not only bless them on their own journey, but help it be a blessing to others in their sphere of influence. Thank you that we can trust you to do that, for we ask it in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Thank you.
Okay, have a good night. It was good being with you all. Continue to have a good summer, and we'll look forward to seeing as many of you as we can July 22nd. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.